Welcome everybody to the 92nd episode of Let's Do Lunch. And today is Wednesday, which is our Business of Games Day. We have a terrific couple of speakers who will be joining us shortly. Before we get to that though, please introduce yourselves in the chat and feel free to drop in a LinkedIn link or whatever you'd like to do to introduce yourself. Also, when you do that, select all panelists and attendees in the drop down before you make your intro so that everybody can see and not just the panelists. Also, if you have questions through the panel today, please put them in the Q&A area so that our moderator and panelists can see those questions. Wednesday, the Business of Games, and we have our good friend and colleague, Mike Vorhaus of Vorhaus Advisors joining us as our moderator. Mike, come on down. I can see Mike here in the side room, so I'm sure he'll be joining us in in a moment. There he is, Mr. Vorhaus. How are you? Oh, I think you're on mute.
I was trying to block some of this.
Oh, that's actually that's pretty good there.
That's better, yeah.
Yeah.
So greetings, everybody. Hi, Ned. Great to see you.
Yep.
Hi, all my friends out there. I don't have a Hollywood sign to show you today, and if the sun was a little brighter, I would show you the beautiful beach house that we drove to that nobody's been in for days just to get away. And, you know, I have to say, I already just feel in a day and a half, it's just good to get away. So the walks you're all doing is great. The seminars, some people are reporting their businesses up, you know, the games you're playing, but you know what, take a little trip, take a little car trip, rent a little place somewhere, take a break,
Great advice.
Congratulations, Ned, on 92. You'll be receiving an email from me about how much you got to pay to be the host of number 100. And special regards from the whole digital media family, all your moderators, all your guests, to your CEO, Tinzar, and we look forward to seeing her online soon. And let's just go ahead. Sean, would you mind clicking on your video and saying hi to everybody? Excellent.
It's saying I'm unable to start my video. Let's try it again.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, Sean,
there we
how are you doing today?
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me join. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm very excited about this because, of course, I had the chance to meet the founders of your company 4 years ago or so in Israel. And this is another great example of phenomenal technology coming from Israel. And I think the United States of America should be proud that we're the big market that they always come to after they launch in Israel. And there's a special relationship in the technology and gaming area between the two countries.
They do.
Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then we'd like to kind of jump in and have you give us the short version of understanding StreamElements.
Sure. So quickly on myself, I've been in the digital advertising business for probably around 20 years, 2 decades. I was in the talent management business in Hollywood first, then moved over to advertising sales. Spent a good number of years at a company called Defy Media, which owned a lot of IP, including television properties like Gossip Girl and Pretty Little Liars, to IPs on YouTube like Smosh and Clever. And really at that point in my career, after 12 years there, left and had various roles as the CRO of Style Hall, another MCN, went to the Virgin Corporation and was a CMO at Virgin for a few years, and then got drawn back into the live streaming and particularly StreamElements space, one because of my 12-year-old son and seeing what his habits were, and then just learning about the technology from StreamElements and a good few founders persuading me, and it's been an incredibly positive and rewarding experience in the 8 months I've been here.
Well, that's fabulous. Spectacular background. Oh, excuse me. I'm just getting a note from Ned. He's just sold his company to TMZ.com, and all questions should now be limited to your years as a talent agent. So tell us about. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was a deep fake. I'm sorry. That was an inaccurate tweet, fake news. We're cool. You're still in the live streaming space, and we are not TMZ. So tell us about the live streaming space in a big way. And I think most of us on this session today, probably know about it, but I think people may not know some of the early live streaming, like Justin.tv and the history of Twitch and esports, and my personal favorite, the oyster shucking. So we'd like to hear about just the wildness of the live streaming space and how it is.
Yeah, so let me put it into context a little bit from its growth and why StreamElements entered it and what they served, and then obviously where it's grown now through COVID. It was natural for the live space to grow because YouTube and the social platforms obviously allowed video, and then obviously allowed communication, live communication. And as the platform started to have different pieces of short form video you could go live with, there was obviously the growing need to start to have creators start to speak to their audiences from a live format. Gaming was one of those communities that's so close-knit that gamers aren't afraid of how they look when they go online or take a photo, right? They're real personalities and interact with their audiences through gameplay. It was a real natural transition for that gaming, some of those gaming creators, but more, I think importantly, a lot of new creators to come up and really immerse themselves in the live experience. And what that meant was communication with their audience in a much different way than what was traditionally being done on social platforms, by liking a video, reading a comment, and maybe replying to a comment. When the live space started, and even to where it's evolved now, right? It was that real live connection of that creator being live, being able to connect with their audience, hundreds of thousands of fans also connecting at the same time through video. And that was a real immersive experience, but it was also a bit of a challenge, right? Because when you're going live, we all think about our habits. If you watch the NFL or you watch CNN, a town hall with Sanjay Gupta and Anderson Cooper, all the things that happen in a live broadcast, from like a ticker at the bottom, to widgets on screen, to split video screens, to creative that comes in, right, for that specific broadcast, and promotional units. All of those are in-stream production creative capabilities that streamers didn't have access to. The platforms, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, are distribution platforms, but the actual tools to broadcast, there was a need for that. StreamElements saw that need, built a cloud-based production stack. This was around 4 years ago, when that gaming community and Twitch was really starting to explode. And then you saw YouTube and Facebook start to add live channels. And I don't think to necessarily compete with Twitch, but just because the audiences were demanding it, and different forms of content were starting to be viewed. A little more music, a little more cooking now, performing arts, right? And then ultimately the streamers really needed these tools to communicate to their audiences and to get money from their audiences, tipping and donations, all that financial back end. StreamElements provided it from a cloud-based production stack. And in our 4 years, now dominate the live space with, I think, almost 54% of all live creators and their audiences are utilizing our platform. So immense amount of information we have, from their viewing habits to how much they're spending on tipping, because it's going through our back end, to really giving, most importantly, all the engagement and conversion that these creators needed with their audiences to talk and communicate and fuel their businesses. And in the past 2 years, we've started to work with those same tools with advertisers and bring an in-stream advertising sponsorship model that's been unique, and that we've got a lot of great reception from some big brands like P&G and Mondelez, down to gaming companies like Blizzard and Capcom and Square Enix. But it's been an exciting rise of that space. COVID has really fueled enormous growth in the past 6 months. And I don't want to say that there hasn't been enormous growth year over year, because there has, and it's been double-digit growth. But I'll give you a little bit of growth. For this year, for example, right, from just January to now, we've had around 1.5 billion hours watched. The year before, there was a 941 million during that time, right? So huge growth. It's around a 57% increase. Facebook gaming grew year over year by around 197%. Excuse me, 79%. So just huge growth. And you think about the habits, right? People are home. There's a lack of live sports. There's a lack of live music events. And a lot of people are gamers. And you don't have to be a hardcore gamer. You can be a casual gamer. So you start tuning in. And they've built in loyal audiences for that growth. And it continues to, it hasn't plateaued. It continues to grow. And I would suspect it will still continue to grow even outside of COVID, because people's minds have now switched and their viewing habits have changed. I'll take a break there for a minute. That was a long description and answer. So I'll take a break.
So your platform and tools can be used by, if you will, amateurs or semi-pros or prosumers or, modern day creators, as well as full production creators.
You got it.
And talk to us about the business model. Does it vary by size of user?
Yep, it ultimately does, right? Just like you would think, the bigger creators, let's call them the mega creators that are getting, 20,000, 50,000 viewers every minute during a broadcast, right? So their financial model is pretty similar to a lot of other creators in the VOD space, right? You've got you've got their merchandising, right? So there's a merch store that's created that we create for them, that their audiences can buy their merch. There's a back end revenue for that, obviously for them, us. There's the tipping and donations that when you, in the live world, in the gaming specifically, you tip, you donate your streamer, extra benefits and points you get in a relationship with them. So that back end, right? So that monetization there, for probably anyone that has over 1,000 or so viewers of broadcast, is a strong monetization system. Right. And when you get up to getting 50, 60,000 viewers, then you also have the attention of brands more. Right. So you start to get.
Let's be clear here. This is 50 to 60,000
simultaneously convert. Correct.
That would convert to, tens of millions of MAUs.
Yeah. Right. And ultimately, the platforms don't give you live unique viewership data yet. Right. So we're able to understand a concurrent viewer and a peak viewer. But at this moment, none of them are giving live data. I would suspect probably it will evolve, that we'll start to get live data as they talk to Nielsen more and stuff, but I don't think any decisions have been made. But that when I refer to a concurrent viewer, that's how I'm speaking.
So there are millions of people who are entry-level live casters that could be using you.
Millions. Like I said, we've got, I think, around 707,000 creators on the platform. There's probably the top 6,000 are the ones, to be fair, that have got the biggest audiences, that are driving 70% of the viewership. No different than YouTube, right? Your top creators are driving the lion's share. But yes, there's a whole huge plethora of creators that have 25 viewers to 200 viewers globally that are going live every day and either playing games or playing live music or cooking. Travel and outdoors has grown. Chess, people playing chess together live, has grown immensely, right? So really some specific categories during COVID have started to grow in that space where it wasn't as much of a bigger growth before COVID. On Twitch, there's a category called Just Chatting. And it's one of I think it is their biggest channel. And that is grown, it's the #1 channel from them, and has grown exponentially in the past 3 months. And that is where a lot of these creators, whether you're a music or gamer, they're just having more casual conversations there. And I think in a day and age now where everything has happened, right, that casual conversation off their normal channel when there's gameplay has been kind of a welcomed, incentive for their audiences to capture them in a different way. Outside the gameplay. And it also has allowed those creators to build off other hobbies they have and talk to their audiences through a different lens.
I mean, this has been a platform, your type of platform in China, that's launched whole home businesses for, I think, well in excess of 1 million people just since the beginning of COVID. I do hope we get a chance to talk about my oyster shuckers, because I think they were kind of 2 or 3 years ago. It turned out to be a fad. But before we do that, I want to get this clear. So I'm going to share revenue with you on my merch, my tipping. If I have an admissions system, I know a guy who streams a fashion show, quotation marks. I don't really know the person. I know of a person who streams a fashion show, and there's actually a fee to get into that. That's split with the talent in the fashion show. So there's all this rev share. Are there any license fees, SaaS fees, anything like that?
No, we don't charge the stream. Initially, part of our initial business model was fees that the streamers would be paying, right, as a SaaS platform. But we really started to devote ourselves to just the success and the quality of the stream, and relying on revenue from other sources. Advertising revenue, right, sponsorships and stuff has come into that fold. But for our top 6,000 creators, it is completely free. We have a team called our Creator Success Team that is a global team, I think of around, I want to say around almost 40 people, 24/7, 365 days a year, working with these streamers, monitoring their broadcasts, helping them should something happen. So, I mean, think of it as no different than a live newsroom for CNN or CBS or the BBC that's got people around the globe working nonstop, right? From a production and or a audio visual side. It's kind of the same way for us. When there's someone going live worldwide, we've got to be working in that region to ensure that the audiences are safe from the viewing, obviously, and that they are going live and that all those tools are working.
All right, great. Talk to us more about categories of content. Esports is presumably be huge. Is this oyster shucking stuff still happening? Do you care to explain to the audience?
So I will share that oyster shucking, I'm not sure as much about, but cooking has grown. And you think about it, that the live space is a really natural place for amateur or professional cooks to be going live, to talking to their audience and stuff. It's a really natural, easy place. It's in the kitchen. It's not uncommon for someone to stream for 6 hours. So if someone's cooking a meal, it's not uncommon for that same wave of the gamers. It's a natural reaction. Music, again, growing. Another category, right?
These are amateurs playing at home. And these are bands hooking up in their bandmates' barn. Talk a lot more about the environment that they're currently streaming from.
So music obviously is a lot more amateur. Although you've obviously seen during COVID, a lot of professional musicians coming to Twitch and doing special concerts or on their Facebook channel performing. But traditionally, these are a lot of amateur musicians trying to get recognized. A lot of their own written music. Licensing of music has become a big issue. You've read about it. Twitch, as it should be. We actually have been working with a specific label on being able to clear a whole bunch of a catalog that our streamers can actually then use kind of like a widget-based system and then pay a fee to license that catalog to be able to use during a stream. So it's something that we are thinking about to solve as a problem as we look in the future more and more. But traditionally, the amateur musicians obviously are writing their own songs, so you're not dealing with licensing issues as much, but there is a growth there. There's also a growth, like you had said, esports. I want to clarify for the audience really, the difference between esports and gaming, because I think people get confused a lot between the two, right? Esports is just a specific niche within the gaming world, and it really refers to a specific type of game and the competitive competition and teams that surround it, right? So like an Overwatch League or Fortnite are obviously big games, and there's teams, professional teams that play these games digitally that have come around that. So I think a lot of times what people, and you've had these tournaments get milestone events and larger viewership, right? But I think a lot of times people overlap the two because probably only, I think it's around 17% of the overall gaming audience, right, of gamers are actually esports fans, right? So it's a niche part of gaming that is focused on popular gameplay, but it's not that it's across the entire gaming universe.
By the way, that would be that's fairly close to my data. That would be 14% of the general population in the United States, depending on whether you do or don't include all the way down to 0. But either way, we're talking about 60 to 100 million. I think it's probably a little closer to 100 million. Depends on how you define fan.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
So it's a big niche.
It's a huge niche, right? And when you think about the gaming community in the U.S., right? Most of the male gamers, it's 13 to 49, right? Those are the ages that are watching live gaming streaming. They're the age spent buying the most games, whether it's free to play, download games, PC based, right? That's your core audience over there of gaming. So if you look at it, and of that audience overall, you'd probably say I think around 73% are regular gamers in that audience. So cut esports down from that to around 17%. Absolutely, it is a huge area. It continues to grow. Sponsorships of these teams continue to grow.
$1 billion is spent in the U.S. a year in advertising in the front end of games.
Yep.
That you can tap yourself into.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
What about non-gaming content? What about, are people putting on, the equivalent? I've always wondered, there's all this temporal content that's never permanentized, to create words here. Great college performances of bands, of theater, museums are turning to live streaming. I mean, get me from sports and Alienware to CPG and Procter and Gamble and the live streaming version of soap operas.
Yeah. So great question. We're definitely not there yet. You are starting to see talk shows, definitely within the live format, gamers, non-gamers, lifestyle. So the talk show format, and again, this is why Just Chatting, the one channel of Twitch, has grown exponentially. You've seen a lot more, when I say talk show format, it's a little more casual, right? It's two or three friends getting together, right? That traditionally already have loyal audiences, and some of them may be gamers, some of them may be musician, a cook, what have you. So that type of platform, which obviously is, you can equate to a talk show on television, right, has definitely grown. The music area is not necessarily concerts. It's, personal performances by those musicians, getting their music out, singing it live. Obviously, they have fans listening. They can monetize those fans to pay for performances as well. You haven't seen a huge growth there as much as you would think yet, right?
Isn't Burning Man live streaming?
Well, it's not happening this year, but yes, a lot of those Coachella, Burning Man, the live stream. To be fair, we've been fielding tons of calls from professional basketball teams recently. At how might they work with us to be able to create a live experience when they're doing local broadcasts that aren't picked up by, ESPN or whatever. They have some of the live streaming rights. So we've been having tons of calls, and quite honestly, a few meetings with the NBA team saying, hey, if we use your tools and we broadcast live, how can we make a better audience experience when they can't come into the arena anymore? So that has been an interesting angle for our business, and nothing has progressed there other than some really strong conversations. But I do think, again, people are thinking of this COVID world, but now they're thinking about, even after I get out of it, how can I start to connect with my audience all the time? Because I need to be able to own that audience and communicate with them a little stronger. And that live space is that place where you really can, and you can capture them, and you can send them messaging, and you can give them stats, live stats on a game. You can pull up the screen and show a player's live stats no differently than you do on, on TNT during basketball or anywhere else.
There are probably DraftKings superstars live streaming how they pick their teams for draft.
Absolutely.
And I just promoted one of my earliest investments ever. But I also want to promote myself, which I don't think I've ever baldly done, and just say that I wrote in Forbes, where I regularly write, nothing like David Bloom, who's superior contributor by far. But I wrote about the Democratic National Convention, and I was unhappy with the number of views. So please go read that story, which was highly live streamed. And another poorly read article in terms of numbers of people for me. So help me out, my friends here. But I thought it was fascinating. The virtual draft of NFL about 3 months ago. I thought it was amazing. You know, they had screens full of people, you know, like little squares and whatnot. Yep. And they had, you know, they were in, owners' houses and players' homes, players sitting on I mean, it all felt so authentic because it was live streamed.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe people, Justin.tv, he live streamed his entire home and house at one time.
Right.
So
I mean, look, and remember, there are some of the biggest shows. What did we love to watch? You know, and anyone that's an older millennial or obviously or Gen X, right? You watch Survivor. Reality TV was based on live.
Big Brother.
Big Brother, right? It became more scripted and everything as the years have developed, and the storylines were a little more story arced and scripted. But initially, you had the real world, and you had Survivor, and you had all Big Brother, that you were just capturing that live moments all the time. And it was fascinating, and people got involved in personalities. So it's no, gamers, right? You know, a lot of times people are like, oh, gamers, they're stuck in the basement, they have no personality. Listen, these guys have massive personalities, and they're using the gameplay to connect with their audience and share their personality. And it's such a misnomer and ironic that people don't think they don't have, personalities, but this is why they're popular. They're connecting with people through their personality and the gameplay, and then they're infusing their life and talking to them about everything, from what's going on in the world now, right, with the Black Lives Matter movement, to politics, to what's going on with COVID. So it's not just about gameplay. They're talking, and they're adding their frustrations or what have you with what's going on while they're playing the gameplay. So it's natural for other areas like just chatting and them to bring out their personality to come through during all these live feeds, and for you as a viewer to be more engaged and want to watch because you're starting to feel like you know that person.
We're going to take questions pretty soon, so people put in some questions. I always like to personify the sessions that Ned and Tinzar give me the opportunity, the honor to moderate. So let's call out to my friend Sophia Yan, who I've not talked to in years. Lloyd Remick, happy to see you here. My favorite name of the session, Chase. You are not the first person to have the exact same name that I've met. Our dear friend Guy Bendov, one of the kings of gaming, Barbara Shapiro. Thanks for being with us, folks. Those are just a few. We've got people in almost every time zone, I'm beginning to think here. Let's talk just a bit about best practices. Best practices on the side of creators, advice you can give them, and best practices in terms of people that want to content, want to advertise on live streaming, and those that want to distribute them as businesses.
So the best practices from the streamer end is one, know your audience, know their passions, understand them so you can communicate. Two, remember the time that we're in and that you're a business, and that there's guidelines and regulations and restrictions that you have to put upon yourself that may not be put upon by the platform. So you have to know that you're a business and starting to monetize your business, and you have to think as a business owner. So whether it's language, crudeness, our times have changed significantly, and there's really no place for that at all. And our team will sit down with streamers and educate them a lot about this. And then obviously know the tools that you have as a streamer that are at your disposal, the technology that helps you build your audience, that helps you interact, that helps you build a business. And whether it's us or a competitor or you're building your own production stack, it's vital to the communication and the engagement that you need, both with the audience and then essentially with a brand if you're monetizing it. From a brand perspective, right, first and foremost, any partner that you work with, you want to ask them about how they protect the brand, for brand safety, from contractually what they do with streamers to what technology they use for monitoring chats, to technology to monitoring chat bots and negative ad word blocking, So first and foremost, that's the one thing you want to do as a brand. Second, know the space, right? I think a lot of brands make assumptions about the live space and the viewership of it and the metrics about it. You had mentioned this before, Mike. It's still a little bit of the Wild West, right? It's similar to, like, while it's still 7 years existed, you know, live streaming is still a little bit of the Wild West, and those metrics are. So you have to be patient, work with your media agency or partner to understand the offering and validate the impressions and the viewership and understand it. And then most importantly, with a streamer, allow them to have a say in what you're trying to communicate. They understand that you've got a brand strategy. They understand that you have a brand message. When you're coming into the gaming community specifically, you want to let the streamer understand your strategy and equate it to how they might interact with the game in it, and rely on them for that. It doesn't mean that you don't have control of the gameplay, because obviously I think all brands should know that when you're working with streamers, you have the right to choose the streamer and the type of gameplay they have. So if you don't want to be around Call of Duty or a mature title and you'd rather be around Animal Crossing or Minecraft, absolutely, you're right. The partner you can work with can give you demographic, all this type of psychographic information to help you feel confident that that gameplay in the community is the right for you to be engaged with. I guess those are probably the best points.
Everybody, remember to put your questions in the Q&A. Don't be like every live conference. Maybe that should be our slogan of the year. Is like, remote conference rocks, man. You know, you can go in and you can type it in right now. You don't have to be the last person to raise your hand. And, you know, I always find, I don't get it, but it's like you say this all through a session and nobody stands up to ask a question. You get to the last 3 minutes and all of a sudden, like, 5 people want it. I don't get it, but, you know, that's what makes humans fun. So please, by the way, I have one silly and, well, not silly. I have 2 best practices for content creators. One is lighting. Get your lighting. It's very special. It's very important. Sean, you got a little too much harsh light behind you.
I know I do, but this is the best room where I know the Wi-Fi will go out, and Chase would be yelling at me.
Pillows up like I do. Come on. Come on. None of us have any production help. By the way, if it was a public company, I'd tell you to buy stock in it. Blue. You know about Blue, Sean? They make these great audio microphones.
Yes.
And apparently they're like 3,000 times up in sales.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, or really for anybody who wants to broadcast and really understand the complexity, maybe not complexity, but the richness of the warp and woof of the live streaming world, build your social media. You don't have to start live streaming. You don't even have to start with videos on YouTube. Go on LinkedIn, go on Facebook, go on Instagram, go on Snapchat. You know, start tweeting, start following people, start building up a following. The smartest people who are doing GoFundMes and the one for investing in Kickstarter and people trying to start their own streaming following are the people that have 5, 10,000, 20,000 Twitter or Facebook followers. And you can do that just by putting out your point of view. I mean, you all know this. Most of the people on today are industry people. So that's a great question. We have 5 more minutes before we go to Q&A. I'm going to start calling on people, Barbara, so don't make me call on you. I feel like I'm practicing to be a 5th grade school teacher. So just give us a better sense of how I can use StreamElements if I'm a business, how I can use StreamElements if I'm an advertiser.
Yep.
Help me understand more of the B2B, because you're really B2B to C, right?
Yeah. We're not focused on our brand to the streamer, right? To the viewer. We're focused on our brand to the streamer. Obviously, we want every streamer to be using our production stack to know that we have the highest quality of a cloud-based system that's easy for them to use, and a customer service team that's great with legendary success. What I think first and foremost, so there's 2 separations from the brand perspective, right? Them engaging with us, whether it's one, they're already deep in the space and want to create a live presence and a live channel. right? So we would offer them the services to start to go live and interact, and then hopefully monetize those and drive purchasing. Then from the, obviously, you know, I think I pointed back from, you know, if you take a team like, let's say an NBA team like the Detroit Pistons, right? You want to use us potentially for our audience tools. So that way they have viewers at home that can be chatting with other viewers during a live broadcast, right? And they can be interacting with those fans just like they would be in the stands, and they can't anymore. And they can actually do that, right? You could be interacting with all those fans in a live chat, no different than there's 50,000 people watching maybe Shroud on Twitch one day, right? And they're all live interacting with each other. You can do the same thing with the game. So from a business aspect like that way, you can look at this audience of how you keep engagement and interaction going and expand that community that you have in a time when it's really hard to talk to that community as much. Excellent.
Well, we're starting to get some questions, which we're going to be able to ask. My buddy Zach Kaufman, Chopper Town, OTT SVODA VOD guru. Thank you for that question. This really is always just such a cool audience. I mean, there's just, you know, so many people that we've all worked together and people that really have made the digital world over the last 20 years. Where do you think this whole space is going? Is there going to be a bigger role in artificial intelligence and machine learning? And, you know, you were talking about support. You think see more automation in the support area? What's version, you know, X of StreamElements?
Well, I'll say, listen, I've been in the AI space before.
By the way, we just got asked that exact question. Yay, Victor. Please talk about what are the newest technologies out there available for the live streaming platforms.
So I'd say right now, right, so it's audience tools, right? It's all the engagement that these tools can use, custom widgets, all this that people haven't been using. Traditionally, people have been using like maybe an overlay. And if you're on Twitch, you're using the chat bot because that's what Twitch is. Obviously, the significant difference is they have that chat bot. But they haven't been using a lot of tools today because a lot of you know, companies, unlike ourselves, haven't offered them. So I think it's actually knowledge now that you can use all these tools, and whether you're paying a competitor a SaaS fee or whether you're using us for free, it's now streamers are starting to understand the difference between what a platform provides them, like Twitch, from a distribution, or what is not provided, and you need to go to a third party for the tools to actually go live. And that's a lot of it just learning about people not knowing it over the years. And now they're finally understanding it because the medium's grown so much, and it's naturally people are going there. So you're learning it just because of natural kind of transition. It also has allowed, you know, more technologies, more thinking from merchandising, right? I think Zach may have had a question on merch integrations for us, right? And what we're planning for it. It is just, we're just starting to burst that bubble. I have to tell you, right? You know, we were averaging around a year ago, probably, I think maybe 50,000 a month in merch sales. Now we're averaging around 750,000 or so north of that a month in merch sales, right? So huge numbers because audiences are starting to realize.
Sorry, but just because we got a B2B audience, I have to ask this. I know you're not going to give me the precise answer, but you know, what do you get there? You know, 5 to 15%?
Listen, your margins on merch sales are not great. No.
but you didn't do a lot of work to sell it. Correct. And maybe even higher margins than on that. Yes, it is an area of business that we are looking to grow immensely. I mean, obviously, our advertising and our sponsorship and our content business will naturally grow because of advertising and the needs from it. But the merch side of the business, right, which can be long-term, more strategic long-term, you know, and there's so many areas to grow in that, right? Right now, you're working with mostly gamers, and gamers, you know, what they're selling to their community is, as you would think, hats they design, sweatshirts, T-shirts, all that type of merchandise, which is pretty easy to get created and printed and sold and shipped. But as you think to grow into music and specifically cooking, there's tons of different merchandising opportunities. And basically, it's very simple for us now. There's a merch store that's created in their channel.
And those streamers can very easily click into that store, buy that, put it into their basket, and we have a third party and work with a partner that's fulfilling it all. I definitely think our goal is to improve that shopping experience. Our goal is definitely to work with creators to create affiliate programs, right? Whether you're creating affiliate programs with the actual gaming pubs or the consoles, or even you're working with partners like, excuse me, my dog's barking.
That's okay. This is a dog-friendly group here, right, everybody?
Yeah, sorry.
We're very dog-friendly here. It's good.
That's all right.
Because we're all hip startup guys. So, Sean, thanks for bringing your dog to work today. You get an extra, food from the carbohydrate stand.
Thank you.
By the way, the food in Silicon Valley is going to be so bad for years. I mean, I'm going to lose weight because I won't be eating all those great little goodies. So this seems interminable. I mean, this seems like
it is.
I just keep thinking in my mind about so many things that could be live streamed.
There's so many, and Miriam, I think, asked another question about, like, with social distancing, live events, concerts, selling tickets to this stuff. Absolutely, 100% yes. You are seeing, you've seen, I mean, a few years ago, Marshmello did a live performance within Fortnite. You've seen other musicians, particularly within Fortnite, do concerts, right? That they're monetizing through their communities. 100%. You absolutely, we've been involved with many conversations with the label to specific artists about doing this. Obviously, charities have really monetized this during COVID, right? These types of concerts. Advertisers have looked at this as a way as well, right, to work with creators. We had Mondelez and
I wrote this down. I think it's a fascinating, of course I think it's fascinating because I'm asking it. Do you think that brands might start live streaming as ads? Remember Lee Iacocca and so many other people? I mean, is Kylie Jenner gonna, well, I mean, everything she streams is an ad, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Right, so so I don't think they will, unless the brand
That'd be fun.
Well, unless the brand has such a big persona, right? So now, right, so there are brands, all right, if you think about it, like a brand like, I'm throwing this off, like Cheetos, right? Which is obviously a very great snack brand, very somewhat endemic to the gaming community, that, their character could be a great live piece of content. So there are definitely some brands that are already playing deeply in the space, right? Whether they're sponsoring a team or they're building a live channel. But it's a big commitment. When you're live, you can't just go live once a week, and you've got to really build that community. It's not like YouTube, you can put a video up once a week, you can put a post up on Instagram. If you're a brand and you're going to really commit to live, you need to really commit and either partner with certain streamers, so you create programming together, right? It'd be very easy for Kraft or Unilever or a company to work with a lot of the up and coming live cooking streamers, right? And they create a show together, right? So
Apple could do, Nerds and Geeks live on Apple.
Right. So there's really interesting ways. You think about it, the whole notion of a book club, right? That obviously has been traditionally more women focused for years. Obviously now it's become, I think, very cross-gender, but you could have great book clubs hosted by a brand. And how engaging would that be? You cast it. You work with a streamer, you work with a comedian, you bring them together into a book club and have that talk about it. There's really organic and natural ways to storytell on live that don't have to be so scripted, don't have to be huge productions, but you still have to bring in the equity of an influencer or an actor or a sports player. I mean,
but you can become one of those people.
Or you can become one of those people. If you're a brand and you commit to programming in the live space, absolutely you can, 100%.
I mean, there used to be a ton of stuff live cast on TV in the old days. You know, I don't know, is the lottery still on some low-rated channel with the balls?
Well, yeah,
down?
they still do it locally. I think in all markets at like 6:55 or whatever it is. They still do it in LA. They do that live, yeah. And I think they actually still do it on their website live too. They stream it on their website.
Right.
People just have, I mean, people just have to understand that you're going to Twitch or YouTube or Facebook, and there's channels there. And these channels are these creators, or they name their channel, and it's no different than turning on their old school traditional TV set, right? They're just not turning into Ellen, they're turning into Shroud or Ninja or Tim the Tatman or Maya, and they're watching different types of content.
Oh, Sean, you've been youthing out, huh?
Yeah.
How much TikTok time are you using a day now? Do you?
Only the amount of time that I'm policing my son to see what he's watching on there.
You know what? Just another thing again there, and I just think this talks about the whole community that we're living right this second. Intergenerationality seems to be occurring in live streaming a lot. And again, this is like the old days when, you know, the 6 family members would do a sing-along, or, I mean, this stuff, it sounds corny the way it was in the 50s and the 60s, but now today, it seems cool, and moms and grandmas.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're I don't want to use the word voyeuristic, right? Because it's a charged word, but we love to see what's involved in other people's lives. And in an age of technology, there is no reason why you can't be connected to your loved one, your friend, and feel that personal touch through video. There's, you know, we're such a Wi-Fi enabled and country now, and excuse me, globe. Again, outside of obviously some third world countries and stuff, but in major cities, we are those fortunate enough. There's no reason to be alone. There's no reason to not have a voice. There's no reason not to connect with someone outside of your device, because you can actually do it. And whether you're calling your mom on Zoom or Google Hangout, or, you know, you're going live and watching Kylie because she's on her Instagram, right? Or you're going and watching your favorite gamer play on Fortnite. It's just a different type of entertainment, and there's no reason now not to feel like you're connected and alone. And that's what live allows you to do that, and allows people to have voices.
I talk about esports and live streaming at Goldman Sachs every year when I speak at Communicopia, which will be next week. And they laugh when I mean, these are a bunch of old, fat, white men. Yeah. And I may be disinvited. They're not fat. They're not fat, I'm fat. And they're just white men, mostly. But they laugh when I explain esports. And then I say to them, but how many of you watch golf?
Right.
And I don't know why, if golf can be watched, esports can be watched. If golf and esports, I mean, I just did a super quick back envelope here, assigning an extremely low LTV. I think this is over a $700 billion market in all the different, because you're touching every revenue model.
Every model. Yep.
And you're touching, a few years from now, every person with a computer or a phone.
And people have to remember, gaming is their mobile. Mobile's gaming, right? So females or males, right? I mean, people think, right.
And it's a TV.
And it's a TV, it's everything. So, I mean, I think people forget that their device, it's not their phone, it's their entertainment device now, right? And while YouTube Live is watched more on mobile than Twitch is traditionally a little more heavy on the PC and on your desktop being watched. It's continuing to grow. And again, it's about you staying connected and really being, if you're a creator, you having a definite connection to your viewer, and then being able to touch them in a live, you know, format and feeling connected, versus liking a comment or responding to a post. Live takes you out of that.
StreamElements, Sean Horvath, live streaming. We're doing it now, and you're going to be doing it all the time. Live streaming, StreamElements, Sean, we're out, 12:50.
All right. You guys have a great day. Thank you.